Hold that crowd. No, you're good. I can adjust the camera. All right, look at the camera, Evan. Okay, we're good there. Hold that. Yep, perfect. Thank you. 27 seconds. I'll tell you when we're on. And ready, Lauren. And there we go. Now you're on.
We've been waiting all season for this championship rematch, and the wait is almost over. Tonight, here at Seafoam Stadium in St. Paul, the 9-1 Boston Glory, the reigning UFA champions, taking on the 10-0 undefeated Minnesota Wind Chill, the team that Boston beat in last year's final at Breese-Stevens Field in Madison. We are expecting a raucous atmosphere. We are expecting two great teams, and we're expecting a fantastic night of Frisbee. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to FNF Game Day on a Saturday with Ian Toner. I'm Evan Lepler, and Ian, just watching these two teams warm up, there's a vibe, there's an energy, there's a professionalism and a purpose to both these teams. They both want to make a statement tonight. They're here to bring their best.
When this schedule was released, we hoped that these teams would be in this position at the tops of their respective tables with these stakes on the line. Boston needing a win to secure that home field in the playoffs. Minnesota desperate to secure the top seed going into championship weekend if they make it that far. This is what we've been waiting for, and we got the table set for it to deliver.
Well, after last night with Carolina defeating Austin, the Wind Chill are the only remaining undefeated team in the UFA. We'll see if they can stay that way tonight. In two of the four divisions, the division champion in the regular season is set. Minnesota will host the Central title game. Oakland will host the West title game. But Ian, as you alluded to, Boston needs a win tonight to stay in position. Otherwise, New York could overtake the Glory for that number one seed. And we'll have our eyes tonight on Austin at Atlanta. The Soul need to win there to stay on top of the South. But Boston and Minnesota, they have been the class of the league all season long. The Glory's only loss coming at home against New York, a game that they avenged 1 week later. And, of course, the playoffs begin 2 weeks from now. So we're coming down the home stretch here, Toner. And for the Wind Chill, they want to remain undefeated tonight. They want to show in front of their home fans that they can beat the best.
Yeah, I think when we were going into the championship game last year, maybe end of last season, there were questions of, is Minnesota still on fraud watch? Now, we know that this group is battle-tested and proven. We know that this group can hang a championship weekend. They've gone on the road this season and put together their best offensive season in franchise history, and they are as real as it gets, and now is a chance for them to just add another proof point to that resume.
Well, these two teams had never met previously before August 23rd last year on a Saturday night after Boston beat Salt Lake, and Minnesota came from behind to beat Atlanta, and that set the stage for a real back and forth battle. Boston got the first break. Their ruthless D-line efficiency ended up, quite frankly, being the difference in the game. But Minnesota did not go quietly, especially in the first half, as these two teams traded punches as you would expect from heavyweights.
Yeah, Orion Cable making his presence known all game long, but it was the Minnesota defense that just kept punching back and pulling the slack that the Wind Chill O-line kept giving up throughout that game. Ultimately, kind of the 5-1 run in the third quarter proving too large for the Wind Chill to respond and come back to, but a tremendous effort, an incredible game, and something that Minnesota will have fresh in its mind looking for revenge tonight.
Well, Vandy Mortel, the buzzer beater at the end of the first half, but then the game shifted in the third quarter, Ian. Boston, as Sam Rosenthal, their head coach, said, he didn't feel they executed their game plan great in the first half. The key in the second half was keeping Minnesota out of the middle of the field. The D-line got 3 breaks by themselves. The O-line came on for 2 more breaks after timeouts. With 5 seconds to go, Minnesota scored its first goal in the second half, and then it was a low-scoring fourth quarter as the teams went back and forth again, but ultimately too little too late, and that third quarter run was the difference.
Yeah, something we talked about on last year's championship broadcast was Boston's willingness to play boring but beautiful ultimate. Oscar Graf making chisel cuts left and right. Peter Borth going every other. Jeff Babbitt hanging out in the backfield. Toba DeCrana getting little 2-yard resets. That was the difference as things got tighter and closer down the stretch in the fourth quarter. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Boston try and rely on some of that tonight if they can get their hands on the disc for their D-line.
Well, for the Glory, a franchise that started in 2021, they missed the playoffs their first 2 seasons in the league. But Jeff Babbitt winning his 4th UFA championship, and Boston joining Minnesota atop the UFA championship ledger. These are the last 2 champions in the league, of course. The Glory denying Minnesota's quest to go back-to-back. While there's certainly plenty of similarities between last year's rosters and this year's rosters, though, there's also plenty of differences. Only 10 members of the Glory that played in the championship game last year are playing tonight. Only 11 members of the Windchill that played in the championship game last year are playing tonight. Both these teams have undergone some transformations. Now let's talk about Minnesota's offense for a second, because their offense, led by Gordon Larson, but you add in Nate DeMorgan, you add in Micah Davis, you add in Noah Kuhlman, their personality offensively is completely different from a year ago.
Look, if it wasn't for all the other talent on this Windchill roster, Gordon Larson would be a leading MVP candidate for me this year. The way Ben Feldman and Max Longchamp have decided to redeploy and reassign him, making him a little bit more ball dominant relative to past years, letting Will Brandt operate a touch more in that middle layer. It's made all the difference. His chemistry between Larson and Brandt has been exceptional when they've needed crunch time execution, as we saw in Oakland. And I'm just so impressed with what Gordon Larson has done, and I think he's going to be integral to the Windchill's success down the stretch here.
He had some really clutch throws in Minnesota's win over Oakland. That was a battle of undefeated teams just about a month ago out west. The Windchill got the road win, and of course last weekend Minnesota winning by a combined 16 goals in their 2 divisional games against Chicago and Pittsburgh. Boston won by 16 last weekend too, or in their last game, I should say. It was just one game when they played Philadelphia and dominated the Phoenix 30-14. And look, Jeff Babbitt will not be here tonight. He's been kind of a part-time player this season. But the biggest change for the Glory is Thomas Edmonds has assumed so much responsibility on the Glory offense. He's a do-everything type of guy, but the key is he never tries to do too much.
It's crazy. This is a guy who's capable of making highlight reel plays, who can launch himself through the air to get a block or to maintain possession if he needs. But more often than not, he's making the safe, easy, boring play over and over and over again. And when others struggle with consistency, he makes it look routine. This is a guy who has all the field sense in the world, who has all the disc skills in the world, and at a time when maybe Boston isn't traveling with its best roster, maybe this group needs someone to marshal it, I wouldn't want anyone else in this spot except Thomas Edmonds, and he's going to need to be a rock for this Glory group tonight.
3 years with DC, 4 years before that with Pittsburgh. Edmonds has a bunch of friends on this Minnesota team, and Ben Feldman, the coach of the Windchill, has tried to recruit him to Minnesota a couple of times, but he's back home in New England, and Edmonds will be a very important player for this short-handed Boston team tonight. We mentioned Jeff Babbitt is missing. Rowan McDonald is not with the Glory this weekend, and some guys that are here are not expected to play. Lander DeCrana still dealing with plantar fasciitis in his foot. he is not expected to play. Rowan Dunkerley, the young UMass star, super athletic, relentless cutter, he's dealing with a nagging injury. He's not expected to play. Simon Carapella or Ryan Cable are also question marks. So this is a Boston team that's kind of duct taping this thing together tonight here on the road.
And it's funny because when you think about the last time Boston was in this spot, they were kind of coming off that big loss to New York at home. They were licking their wounds a little bit, and they were going on the road to New York, and we thought, wait, Boston with this roster on the road against New York? They're cooked. And what did they do? Pull out an overtime victory. So on paper, yes, we'd be a little bit, I think, reasonable to expect that they're going to be not 100%, not their final form, but underestimate them too much at our own peril.
Well, we haven't talked too much yet about Toba Dekrana. I mean, he had 7 assists in the championship game last year, 16 assists at championship weekend, the most in any championship weekend ever. And he has had an even more impressive season statistically. The way he has assumed more leadership responsibility on this team. We'll talk about him throughout the night, obviously, but he is one of the big stars in the sport right now.
Yeah, and what's really impressive to me is how well he's been able to come back from an off-season hamstring injury. I think he actually injured it twice. And having dealt with those myself, I know those are no joke, and you can be tempted to rush back. You can be tempted to return to form and volume a little more quickly than might be prescribed, and kudos to him for managing his load, training, doing what he needs to do to be availability, because as you like to say, Evan, the best ability is availability.
I say that because former Wake Forest football coach Jim Grobe said it once, and it stuck with me. The Glory are not just going up against the wind chill, and they're also going up against their thousands of fans that are still coming through the gates here at Seafoam Stadium. Over the past couple of years, the wind chill have done a phenomenal job of building this fan base, and this has become the greatest atmosphere in the league. They might break their record again tonight.
I'm endlessly impressed with what Ben Feldman and this entire organization have done. You can see that this isn't an accident. There are no gimmicks here. This is a community that fully supports this group, that has built relationships between the wind chill and specific organizations and groups and partnerships. And it's something that the league is incredibly proud of and that other franchises can continue to learn a ton from.
All right. 3 minutes away from the top of the hour, the Minnesota Wind Chill and the Boston Glory. It is a marquee game here in Week 12, and it feels like the game of the year in the UFA regular season. Sweltering conditions here in St. Paul, and we are excited to bring it to you in just a couple of moments. That'll wrap up FNF Game Day. The Wind Chill hosting the Glory in just a few. We'll see you soon. So far this season, the Minnesota fans have made every wind chill home game feel like an absolutely massive matchup. But tonight is different. The reigning UFA champion Boston Glory have made the trip to the Twin Cities with plans to spoil the party and halt the Chills' 10-game winning streak. The last two UFA champions. It's 9-1 Boston. It's 10-0 Minnesota. And it's next. It's an absolutely gorgeous Saturday evening here in the Twin Cities, and tonight we've got an absolutely gargantuan matchup. The Boston Glory are 9-1, the Minnesota Wind Chill are 10-0, and after last night, the only remaining undefeated team in the UFA. Both these teams have visions of winning a championship this year, like Boston did last year and Minnesota did the year before. Welcome to Friday Night Frisbee on a Saturday. Evan Lepler with Ian Toner. So excited for this matchup. Ian, obviously these two teams met in the championship game last year. Boston got the 2-goal win, but Minnesota is playing the best ultimate in the league. There's a huge reason why they're undefeated.
Yeah, I think at this point in the championship game last year, we were asking questions about the Wind Chill. Are they ready for the moment? Do they have the offense to do it? Minnesota has erased all doubt over the course of this season, and this group is at the top of its game, and perhaps we have more questions about Boston with the thinner roster tonight.
I think there are fair questions to ask about the Glory, but there is no question that Toba de Krana is their top star. The Belgian just turned 22 at the end of June, 23 at the end of June, excuse me. He's leading the league in assists. He's at the top in total yards. He is a highlight factory.
Whatever this offense needs him to do, he can do it. You could see him stretching the field here, being an option downfield, using his size, his length, and athleticism. He can also operate every other in the backfield as needed. This guy can do it all, and expect him to carry a high volume of touches this evening.
And obviously Minnesota's got an army of defenders to throw at Toba. Perhaps no one more fiery or athletic than Justin Burnett, who guarded him a bunch in the championship game last year, Ian. He plays with swagger. He plays with enthusiasm. He is the heart of this defense.
Yeah, the Callahan winner at the college level has become one of the league's, if not the league's, premier defender.
So the Wind Chill and the Glory are set for an unbelievable matchup here in St. Paul. Opening pull just moments away here from Seafoam Stadium. The Ultimate Frisbee Association is proud to partner with Victory. Elevate your game with Victory insoles and recovery footwear at VKTRY.com. Delta THC Seltzers. No calories, no sugar, no alcohol. Catch life's moments at drinkdelta.com. Two Town Cider House, bringing the best craft cider for everyday celebrations. Find yours at twotownciderhouse.com. And Diskit. RoundNet meets Ultimate. Diskit is the must-have portable game for every UFA fan. Get yours at diskitgame.com. Minnesota wind chill home games have become events here in the Twin Cities. Unfortunately, Boston shorthanded today. Lander DeCrana, Rowan Dunkerley among the stars that will not be in the lineup, but they will be active sideline support as the Glory try to get to 10-1. And most importantly, Boston needs a win tonight to put themselves in position to be the 1 seed in the East and host the East Division Championship game. If they lose tonight here in Minnesota, the New York Empire would be the team that would be in position to leapfrog Boston because they've got the head-to-head tiebreaker. They split the 2 regular season matchups, but due to point diff, New York's 4-point win, Boston's 2-point win, the Empire are in position, and they are big Minnesota fans this evening, Ian.
No question about it. Lots of Minnesota ties on that roster too, with Ben Yacht's history with the state and the organization.
Austin Sol have a big game tonight as well down in Atlanta. They fell from the ranks of the undefeated last night with a last-second loss at Carolina. If the Sol win tonight, they're likely the 1 seed in the South. Otherwise, Carolina would usurp the Sol and host the South final in a little under a month. Let's take a look at the keys to tonight's game. They are presented by Victory. Ian Toner, huge game. What is most important in your mind?
Well, first of all, for this Minnesota team, Minnesota needs to be, I'm sorry, we're starting with Boston here. The offense has to cook. This defense doesn't have its top roster available. It's going to be capable, but the offense has to hold and make sure that it doesn't require D guys to cross over, and they need to embrace that next man up philosophy. We know the roster isn't the best group that it could possibly be traveling with. They need to understand that this is an opportunity for them to develop their depth and to execute on the big stage. For Minnesota, this group needs to be calm and confident out of the gates. There's going to be a ton of energy. There's a ton of expectation. There's pressure to keep the perfect season going. Just maintain tranquility and a level kind of mindset and execution bearing out of the gates through the first quarter. Don't dig yourself a hole and have to find a way to bring the crowd back in it. Secondly, they just need to convert better than last time. They left several opportunities on the table in the championship game, whether you're talking about the O-line getting broken, whether you're talking about the D-line not finishing conversion opportunities. That's what needs to happen here.
Off we go in this huge interdivisional Saturday night showdown. Boston on offense with Ben Sadokes entering to Ryan Dinger, and Thomas Edmonds makes an early sliding snag. Here's Albert Yuan. No Jeff Babbitt tonight for Boston, no Rowan McDonald. We'll see about Simon Carapella. He is not on the field for the opening 0 point. Cam Levine just recently signed us out there as the deep shot goes up, looking for Peter Borth, and it's a dime. Peter Borth in the end zone in just 34 seconds. The Glory strike first here in the Twin Cities. Third member of our broadcast crew is down on the sideline. We say good evening to Nikhil Jain. Hey, Nikhil.
Hi, Ian and Evan. Can I just say you have picked a beautiful day to come to Minnesota. Temperatures on the field are at 89 or 90 degrees right now with the heat index approaching 94. It's so hot, in fact, that there will be 3 mandatory 60-second hydration breaks per quarter as mandated by the on-site medical team. They've said they're looking at an increased chance of injury today, and they are looking out for signs of heat exhaustion as well. All that being said, it is going to be up to the coaching staff to utilize their 20-man roster to its fullest extent. Some players might have to sit just an extra point. Back to you guys.
And Nikhil, Sam Rosenthal, I think, was actually hoping to get those added timeouts to give some of his top players a little bit extra rest. They're going to get them around the 6-minute mark in each quarter. Minnesota's first 0 point. Here's Noah Kuhlman, the import from Colorado, launching long. Will Brandt with one hand. I beg your pardon, that's not Brandt, that's Zach Morton who has been the deep target the last couple of games. He had 12 goals in 2 wind chill wins last weekend.
Just picking up right where he left off, and you could tell both of these offenses want to establish the deep game and the deep presence early. We saw Albert Yuan with a picture-perfect huck down that sideline, and here it's Noah Kuhlman going back across the open part of the field. Perfect shot to Morton.
So Boston scores in 34 seconds. Minnesota says we'll see that and do it in 20. Let's see what Boston does here on its second possession. Still no sign of Simon Carapella. Orion Cable is out there for the first time, though, for Boston. He's been dealing with a back injury that has limited him at times. He was so dominant in the first half of the championship game. Peter Borth is looking for a call. There's an injured wind chill defender on the field. Dylan DeClerc slow to get up.
So Borth goes for the scuba, and his elbow hits DeClerc in the face. And
the turnover's going to stand.
Yeah. DeClerc getting subbed off there.
Cam Lacey back to Micah Davis. I think Boston wants a chance to maybe sub. Sam Rosenthal asking for an explanation.
So Ben Sadok is jogging off.
Oscar Graff trotting on the field, one of the Glory captains this season. Oscar was huge at championship weekend last year. He went 37 for 37 passing in the final, helping Boston be almost perfect on their break chances. And really, they were perfect. They didn't score the last point of the game, but they didn't need to on D. A 17-15 win for the Glory in last year's championship. And the first timeout tonight will be called by Ben Feldman. So we had 2 goals in the first 54 seconds, and we have our first timeout less than 2 minutes in, as Ben Feldman's not fooling around tonight, and he's getting the O-line on the field quick.
Well, it's funny. We were talking to him earlier this week. How quick are you going to be with that timeout whistle? Are you going to pull the trigger early? And he gave us a pretty standard coach explanation. You know, there's so many variables that go into it. What time of the game is it? Where are we on the field? Who's got the disc? And here we go. First crack at it. He's not shying away from doing it.
Well, one of the big differences between last year's wind chill team and this year's is obviously the offense. They have leveled up in so many different ways. As a team last year, they were 17th in completion percentage. This year, they're 3rd. As a team last year, they were 63%, 15th out of 24 teams in hold rate. This year, they are 73%, 3rd best in the circuit. So both these teams statistically are up there in virtually every category. And we'll see how Minnesota's O-line does playing on this D point. It's a floater near the sideline, and it's knocked into the rail. Good defense from Jason Tapper on Nate DeMorgan. Remember, this is still a Boston O point, but it's this D group out there, and Sam Rosenthal is shadowing the sideline referee on the far side of the field right now. And he'll take the timeout with Oscar Graff doubled, so both coaches kind of sending a message about the importance of these early points. On a night, Ian, when I think we'll have a lot of points scored. I mean, there's a slight breeze, but I don't think the throwers are too concerned about these wind conditions right now.
I was going to say that turnover was kind of the first time that we had seen the wind make its presence felt through these first couple of points. And that's a throw that Noah Kuhlman has made a zillion times, but you could tell he wasn't necessarily throwing to hit the receiver in the chest. He was kind of throwing to float it out to space. And when you do that at Seafoam, you run the risk of the disc catching a tuft of wind, getting a little bit out of control. I'm sure he'll learn from that and kind of tighten things up as tonight goes on.
3rd block of the season for Jason Tapper, the 22-year-old out of Brown University. So it'll be Ryan Dinger to initiate out of the Boston timeout. 2 turns and 2 timeouts so far on this point, which began with 11:06 to play. Toba Dekrana gets his first touch in the middle of the field. Backhand for Yuan, who quickly dishes to Borth. Toba has been incredible as both a thrower and a receiver this season. Turned 23 at the end of June. Squeezes it through for Edmonds, who continues to the bidding Borth. A little bit of a floaty throw, but Edmonds is there, and Boston holds. An adventurous hold at that, but it's 2-1 for the Glory.
You could tell the Minnesota defenders doing their best to front the Glory receivers downfield as we get one more look at the most recent turnover. That was from the wind chill O-line personnel that had subbed on after the first timeout, and then here we go after the second timeout in this point. You could tell the Glory working maybe slightly downwind here, because if there's any kind of upwind condition, that elevator backhand, that little flip to Edmonds is going to get eaten up all day, but Borth able to execute well there to Edmonds.
Brendan McCann, who played 1 season with the wind chill back in 2019 with the pull for Boston. And here's Gordon Larson. And there's miscommunication. An easy block for the Glory. And their first break chance comes right here. Sam Rosenthal isn't going to use his second timeout just 3.5 minutes into the game, is he? He's standing right behind the referee, contemplating it. Oscar Graff to Brendan McCann.
This is the dangerous spot. They got to get the ball off that line.
And it's Cole Davis-Brand who finds the gap in the end zone for the Glory score. Sam Rosenthal, who is standing right by the pylon near the official, ready to call timeout, eagerly joins the celebration, relieved to still have a timeout in his pocket.
You could tell the Glory going upwind there with the trajectory of that goal-scoring throw. As we get one more look, Larson really thought his rail cutter was going to come underneath, but clearly going the opposite direction. Graff over to McCann. And then the little float. He got lucky, not quite in the chest, but it ended up working.
Coming into tonight, both these teams were averaging exactly 13.1 turnovers per game. They had the same exact number of turns, 131 turns in their first 10 games. You see Boston's careful pull receive with their, or Minnesota's careful pull receive, I should say, with plenty of backups to not let that disc roll deep into the end zone. Paul Krennic out there with Lucas Ambrose. Kind of a hodgepodge group with Will Brandt, Noah Hansen. And Brandt is going long, and there's still about 20 yards of work to do. Now 25 with a dump back to DeMorgan. Thought about the righty hammer, instead chooses the lefty flick. Brandt cross field for the veteran Dylan DeClerc. And an important stabilizing score there for Minnesota. We haven't talked about Nate DeMorgan yet, Ian, but he is one of the more creative throwers we've ever seen in this sport. I don't think that's hyperbole. Watch what he does here. Bluffs the righty throw. Now he'll go left-handed. There aren't too many guys who are ambidextrous playing this sport.
Yeah, not too many guys actually pull out a fake or a throw with the offhand longer than 5 or 10 yards in an actual game, but we've seen DeMorgan go over the top with the righty hammer before at the college and the pro level. And I tell you what, DeMorgan's explosiveness both with the disc and in the cutting lanes has really done something to open up another dimension for this wind-chill offense. A group that used to be relatively predictable, that sometimes used to struggle to get the disc beyond some of its core handlers, has really become a multifaceted, versatile threat. And it's funny because you drop someone like Zach Morton in that fold, he's kind of never known anything but a wind-chill offense that stretches the field and can also value and possess it. So it kind of instills these great new explosive habits in newcomers, and as long as they continue to nurture that and continue to push the pace on both phases of their attack, whether they're valuing the short game or stretching the deep game, they're going to be dangerous as this season goes on.
I think we just had our first heat timeout, Ian. We might be doing 2 heat timeouts a quarter. Minnesota's D-line was standing on the field throughout that break, but Boston had nobody on the line until just now. Everybody was under the tent trying to get the little bit of shade that they could. One of the best pullers in the league, Cam Lacey, lets it rip. And Boston starts from the back of their end zone.
Yeah, I think Nikhil shared with us that there might be 3 in a quarter.
DeCrona back to Edmonds. Here's Dinger, 27-year-old handler from Western Mass. To Borth. Albert Yuan found a role on the O-line last year after starting the season on D, where he struggled. Borth shoots it long. DeCrona senses the secondary defender, and it's incomplete. But we've got interference in the end zone. It was Justin Burnett and Owen Suflo who were sandwiching DeCrona and ultimately fouling him.
My gut reaction from up here in the booth, didn't look like a foul. I also didn't have the on-field vantage point that the referee did. So we'll see what replay tells us.
DeCrona coin slot blade to Orion Cable. First score of the night for each of those two, and Boston does hold. They're up 1 break here midway through the first.
So here's Borth's deep shot. You got Burnett underneath, Suflo on the backside. I'm not seeing a clear foul there. I'm being honest. I also didn't have the angle and vantage point that the ref did, so can't completely disagree.
It's an MVP call.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
I doubt that. But there are leagues where the MVP does get the benefit of the doubt on certain calls. Klain centers it to Brandt, to his college teammate Gordon Larson, still in the end zone. And now Minnesota going to work. DeMorgan bluffs the big lefty backhand, goes with a short backhand, and eluding the layout bid. The deep shot from Cousins is off the mark, and Boston comes up with it. Intercepted by Cole Davis-Brand on the ricochet.
You can see how much tougher it is to huck in this direction towards this end zone on the right side of your screen. There's clearly wind in the throwers' faces. Hucks are hanging a little more. They're not covering as much ground. I think Cousins and the rest of the throwers out there on the field have to calibrate, because now that's multiple throws, at least one from each team that we've seen become a little perilous.
Greg Cousins, certainly a guy you think more of a goal scorer than a goal thrower. Jackson McGinnis there battling. And Davis-Brand cleans it up. So Boston is now out of timeouts, Ian, with almost 1.5 full quarters remaining in this first half.
Well, we talked about it earlier. Sam Rosenthal believes the magic number that you have to get to in a UFA game to not ensure victory, but give yourself the best odds is at least 6 breaks. And so it's pretty clear he thought we need some of these early as early as possible. And using the timeouts was, in his mind, hopefully a tool to help do so.
Dinger shoots it deep for DeCrona. All the way to the end zone for the score. Toba DeCrona beats Noah Hansen deep. And Boston breaks for the second time in the quarter. That's a productive use of a timeout. An efficient strike from Ryan Dinger.
I mean, sure, you could call it that. When you're hucking deep to Toba, it's not necessarily a 50-50 ball, but I don't know that we get one more look at Cousins' turnover. I just don't know that that's the play call you want every time. Toba's going to make that play a lot, but it's not a sure thing. Hey, Boston's doing it. I'm not taking away from their execution. It's working.
So Minnesota had the first break chance, but they could not convert. That third point where each team took a timeout, Boston ultimately held. And now Minnesota finds himself down by 3.
Yeah, this is kind of the opposite of finding their footing and staying stable out of the gates when we were talking about our keys to victory.
And yet it's not too dissimilar from how that Oakland game started out west, Ian. The Spiders got the first couple of breaks out there, and the key to that game for the Wind Chill was their end of quarter success, their special teams brilliance.
So that was a travel call on Noah Kuhlman with the throw off the line.
Already one turnover for Kuhlman. Stall count rising here, and he squeezes it through to Christian Johnson. Upfield for Brandt, continue. Ellis Newhouse made his UFA debut last week, and he's ruled in the end zone. 2 goals last week in his debut against Pittsburgh. Another talented young player out of Carleton, which has been a pretty good pipeline in recent years for the Wind Chill.
So earlier in that point, Boston had done a really nice job almost fully trapping the Wind Chill on that sideline, but Kuhlman, Newhouse, and company able to navigate, get the ball off the line, attack more through the middle of the field, and ultimately the fast pace in the red zone paying off before the Boston Glory could get all of its defenders back on the goal side of the ball.
Minnesota rolls their pull out of bounds right in front of the Wind Chill bench. So Dinger will pick up. We saw him do this a bunch in the championship game last year. He's not going to shy away from contact, and he quickly draws the foul. And Dinger has never been shy to chirp at his opponent. Gets it back to Sadok. Of course, Sadok missed the championship game last year, so he's getting his first crack at the Wind Chill here tonight. Dinger scoobers it for Cam Levine. Levine made his UFA debut in the road win over New York. Levine had the buzzer-beating grab at the end of regulation to send it into overtime. Off a deflection from a New York defender. It was a great catch. Borth swings it for Toba. DeCrona pivots through the aggressive mark. Working with Edmonds. Now blading it over the defense, and it's another assist for DeCrona. Toba having a conversation with the head referee in the aftermath of the point, asking why all that contact was allowed to go, but it's a Boston score, and 9 minutes in, they're doubling up Minnesota.
So we're going to see Edmonds get it back to DeCrona, and he's going to have the finishing shot here. The thing that's a little challenging for me as I think about this is I understand a lot of teams have red zone and end zone defensive sets that may not be super tight man-to-man. When the offense is attacking downwind, there's so much more room for creativity and over-the-top throws that I don't know that that's the set to trust the most when the offense is attacking downwind. It makes things like that even easier, that blade finish to you on.
Boston has come in and subdued this jam-packed crowd. Next week is the final week of the regular season in the Ultimate Frisbee Association. Friday night, got a West Division battle. The Oakland Spiders and the Salt Lake Shred, 9 o'clock Eastern from Zions Bank Stadium in Utah. And then next Saturday, DC at Atlanta. Those two teams had a bunch of great battles back in 2021 when they were in the same division. And then next Sunday, bonus final day of the regular season, right back here at Seafoam Stadium. The Wind Chill host the Radicals, and what could be a Central Division title match preview. It's a playoff game last year, first round game last year, won by the Wind Chill. Of course, Madison got walloped by Indy 8 days ago, Ian, but the Radicals bounced back nicely last night at home against Pittsburgh. They looked sharp and rolled over the Thunderbirds. Perhaps more than any other division, it seems like Minnesota is the king of the Central, but of course we thought that last year about Chicago, and we know what happened to the 12-0 Union in their home playoff game against these Wind Chill. High stall hammer, and it's too late. Nate DeMorgan did not get it off, and the Wind Chill called for the stall as the clock ticks toward 2 minutes to play in the opening quarter.
I'll just take a little exception. I think it's pretty clear that Oakland has been and is the king in the class of the West. But, yes, Minnesota looking good at the top of the Central right now against its divisional foes.
Near the sideline, Tyler Chan. Remember, no more timeouts for Boston. Sam Rosenthal's already burned them both. And that's going to be a contact call on the backhand. Josh Klain acknowledges that it was indeed a foul. Chance for Boston to go up by 4 here late in the first.
I don't know if the odds makers saw that coming.
Whistle blows, contact call again. Turner Allen will take the free 10. Right now the clock's still ticking, just under a minute to play. Allen, low throw, but it hangs up long enough. And Boston breaks again. It's Seth Fisher Olvera, the Wash U St. Louis product, with his 4th goal of the season for the Boston Glory. And it's a 4-goal lead with 51 seconds to play here in the opening 12.
I feel like we're going back to last year here as we get one more look at a foul from Klain on Tyler Chan. I think it was kind of as he was pivoting across. And then we see the finish here. It's just kind of like, all right, well, the Minnesota O-line's been out there for a long point. We can't get them back out there to try and salvage the hold, so we're going to need this D-line to go out there and get a hold, which is something that the group did repeatedly in the championship game, but it's not the cadence that Ben Feldman and Max Longchamp want to be in with their subbing patterns.
Not positive, but I think Fisher Olvera was pointing to a tattoo of his home state on his leg. He's from Burlington, Vermont. Like the Twin Cities, Vermont's ultimate scene has really grown in huge ways in recent years.
State with high school varsity status for the sport.
Ultimate a varsity high school sport in Vermont, and it has been big. Near the sideline, tough catch, and a greatest attempt won't work. Chance for Boston to strike back again. Oscar Graff with 21 seconds floats it downfield. Perinella quickly gives it up to Davis Brand. Minnesota Fans banging the bleachers, trying to create some defensive intensity. Hammer to the end zone, incomplete. And DeClercq won't have a chance to initiate a counter, but it will be the end of the quarter, and Boston scores the last goal of the quarter. They score 3 breaks in the quarter, and they take a 7-3 lead, Ian, into the second. Sam Rosenthal, their team clearly shorthanded, but they have come to play. They've gotten off to a great start.
This was huge for them, executing at basically the highest level. The offense doing its job, the defense doing its job. Rosenthal being rewarded with the timeouts he's taken. Now the question is, you know that a Minnesota pushback is coming. Can the Glory withstand it? Can this roster hang tough throughout the final 36 minutes?
All right, 1 down, 3 to go. Huge Saturday showcase in the Twin Cities. The reigning champion Boston Glory with a 4-goal lead as we head to the second. Well, tremendous atmosphere here for the hometown wind chill, but the Boston Glory have the 7-3 lead. Sam Rosenthal said that even though the team's shorthanded, they're treating this like a playoff game because a win is the same as a win in the playoffs. It gets us 1 fewer game. The win gets us that bye. Boston confident that they can handle Montreal in their regular season finale. Nothing would be official on the clinching front with a win today, but Boston likes their chances at home with the roster that they're going to have against the Royale. All right, quarter number 2 for Minnesota on offense. They scored 3 times and they got broken 3 times, Ian. Let's see if they can do better here in the second. Morton caught the first wind chill goal. Been quiet since.
Worth noting, Minnesota going in what we think is the majority downwind direction here. So not expecting any of those deep shots to hang, whereas we saw some Hucks doing just that, going the other direction.
Brandt gets a big chunk downfield and floats it to space. Nate DeMorgan runs it down.
Yeah, it's a great start to this quarter, and you can hear the crowd responding appropriately. This is what Minnesota needs to get the momentum, the energy, the atmosphere, the vibes fully back on their side and invested. You could tell this crowd's at, like a 3 or 4 out of 10 right now. If there's a break train that starts going, we got unknown levels to hit.
Nice crafty throw from Brandt before the mark from Malachi Raymond could even get set. First goal of the game for DeMorgan, the enigmatic 20-year-old who just finished his sophomore year at Carleton. Glory coach Sam Rosenthal is a Carleton alum. He was down in Northfield last couple of days, checking out the old stomping grounds on the outskirts of the Twin Cities. Great anticipation from Justin Burnett. A poach block. That'll get the crowd going, Ian. Quick counter. Lacey shoots it. Soufflo is there. It's Owen for the score in the first wind chill break of the night.
A dream start to this second stanza for the wind chill. They needed a block. Their defensive leader got it. They counterattack quickly, and bam, just like that, it's a 2-goal game. The crowd is awake, and everything is coming up chill.
Owen Soufflo, along with his brother Kyle, both important defenders for this Minnesota team. And just Yuan not recognizing that the poaching defender Burnett was there. He's got a knack for doing that, and he's got at least one block now in 13 of his last 14 games. I mean, this is a regular thing for Burnett. He leads the team now with blocks on the season. So a quick hold and then their first break. 2 straight for the Chill to start the second. Edmonds squeezes it through to DeCrona. A little bit of a help mark there from Hansen, then he retreats back to the handler Dinger. DeClerc is on Edmonds. Significant space between the two handlers in the stack. They get reorganized, and Dinger and Edmonds dink and dunk with one another.
Krennic and Kraffel at the back of the stack defense, making sure not to let Orion Cable get deep of them. Learning the lesson from the championship game.
And I think this is a combination of those learnings along with the heat and some wind chill adjustments in between quarters that are slowing Boston's O-line down. This would be a gutty hold if the Glory can get it. They still have a long way to go. Edmonds thought about the huck. He had DeCrona, but there was double coverage. Now Toba coming under. Red zone opportunity here for Boston. Borth to Yuan. Edmonds in the end zone, and he catches the quick short throw from Albert Yuan. Boston able to stay unbroken.
Yeah, and
except for the first break here of the second quarter. Excuse me.
The key on that point was getting the disc off the line quickly. Once they got in the red zone, it was bounce back to the middle of the field. Toba didn't hang on and stare down that sideline for a long time. Got it to Borth, then to Yuan. You could see just moving the angle, forcing everybody downfield to readjust. And DeClerc can't even keep up with Edmonds. He's gassed at that point.
Second goal of the day for the 31-year-old Thomas Edmonds. Played the last 3 years with the DC Breeze. And no matter what coach you talk to, I mean, every coach just raves about Thomas. I think there's not much disputing Toba's place as a superstar, but there's a case to be made that Edmonds has been Boston's most important player so far this year with his versatility, his ability, and just his intelligence.
And I would fully endorse that case.
Greg Cousins at midfield for Minnesota. Back to Josh Klain. And Klain's throw was to nobody.
Yeah, that should have been a foul on DeMorgan. Slow whistle there.
Klain was trying to connect with Newhouse, but Ellis Newhouse, just in his second game playing with this O-line, was starting to clear back to the middle of the field rather than looking for the space on the near side that Klain was attacking with the throw. So Jason Tapper will initiate after the stoppage, the officials conferring downfield. And the question is, will it be 10 or 20? And they're going to rule an unsportsmanlike, which is a 20-yard penalty. There's the miscommunication between Klain and Newhouse. So 20-yard unsportsmanlike on DeMorgan.
Yeah, it's got to be another foul there on Brandt.
Officials are going to confer again. Boston's ready to restart, but the officials are talking about that play. Brandt did kind of land in the back of his legs.
They're trying to figure out if that was an unsportsmanlike.
Now they're just going to call it a 10. They did stop the clock, though, to discuss it. Boston trying to retake a 4-goal lead, and it's that easy. Cole Davis Brand is not going to have that goal count because maybe a delay of game. Maybe they started too quick. I'm not sure. Was it a travel? Did you see a signal, Ian?
I did not.
So Boston still has work to do. Graff working with Davis Brand. Tapper on the doorstep. A wobbly assist for Jason Tapper. And ultimately, it is a Boston break in the hands of CDB.
This Glory roster just littered with college champions. From Brown, from UMass. And Tapper, no stranger to the spotlight, having to play through some contact. Just fights through on the goal line, and we'll get another look at the most recent foul there. Brandt definitely going into the back of Turner Allen. And then Graff and Tapper just working with pace, drawing defenders into different spaces, forcing them to try and recover quickly.
You always enjoy a good double score drill, don't you?
100%. It's why it's staple in so many practices.
Cole Davis Brand has been an important player for this Boston D-line. A couple of goals here in the half. Glory with 4 breaks now. Minnesota with just the 1. Christian Johnson initiates from his own end zone. And a good chunk gainer downfield there to Kuhlman. Almost another turnover from Noah. Saved by his college roommate, Lucas Ambrose. They were roommates together at the University of Oregon.
Ambrose was completely unmarked deep, but the throw didn't go up.
Johnson sees Kuhlman wide open in the middle. Hansen, hammer, end zone, got it. PK with a score.
So once again, Minnesota has to get the crowd back in it here. Its defense has to do some work. A nice job by Morton. The high stall situation, recognizing options 1 and 2 weren't available. So he had to throw that awkward, kind of skinny up line, that throw right there towards the middle of the field. Not always the space where you're going to find a handler open up line. But as soon as he does that, the rest of the defense completely unlocked because they had set the clamps in the backfield. And a nice job by the offense to execute there. What can they do to disrupt the Glory on this 0 point?
Dinger centers to Edmonds. Early touch for Toba. Burnett sets the mark. Here's Cable. Blake Croffel right there. 6.5 minutes to go in this opening half. Boston trying to get to 10-1 and looking to hand the Wind Chill their first loss since last year's championship game when Boston got the better of the Wind Chill in the finals in Madison. Minnesota knows that they'll be hosting the Central Final on August 8th. A win tonight for Boston makes it very likely the Glory will host either DC or New York in the East Final that same night. And that's smooth sailing offensively for the Glory. Albert Yuan, relentless speed, like the little Energizer bunny out there for this Glory squad.
I mean, there's just options all over the field for the Glory. There were at least 2 deep looks I saw on that point where there was 10-plus yards of separation and the throw just didn't go up. I think that speaks to the patience and the discipline of this group. They're obviously not afraid to pull the trigger as we saw in the first quarter, but they know they don't have to, and they can beat you other ways, and they're proving that they can do that with the safer, the more boring, but beautiful in its own right option.
Couple goals and an assist for Albert Yuan. Toba Decrana just threw his 3rd assist of the half. He's also got 1 goal. Will Brandt will initiate here. It's interesting how the Wind Chill set their offensive sets on each possession. Different guys in different roles. I guess that keeps the defense off balance. Theoretically, ideally. Coleman looking for a reset. Larson gained some yards downfield for Newhouse. Coleman was looking to the wide open space deep, but nobody was cutting for him. Now DeMorgan's going. Tapper's chasing. In the end zone, a bump and a catch, and it's a goal. Tapper's making the case that it was DeMorgan that created the contact, and Nate's too busy celebrating to engage.
And I think he gave him a little glare after scoring that one, too.
Tapper still arguing with the official deep in the end zone.
So they're closing in on the space. DeMorgan gets there first. I don't see any elbow or shoulder thrown. That just looks like a clean but firm box out to me. That's going to happen sometimes when 2 guys are converging from slightly different angles to the same space.
I think 2 things can be true. I think we can agree that that wasn't a foul, and I think we could say that's the type of play that DeMorgan makes a lot, kind of seeking out some contact when there doesn't necessarily need to be contact. He just seems to be in the middle of controversy. He certainly doesn't shy away from it.
Yeah, he's ready to bang in the paint, go toe-to-toe with anybody. He'll stretch the field, he'll chirp.
Oh, Decrana's throw into the poaching defender. Micah Davis anticipated it beautifully. Another guy who was playing at college nationals a couple months ago, making an impact on the biggest stage here in Minnesota.
Once again, we're getting glimpses of what this crowd can do, of how it can respond. And Micah Davis getting the block and then also having the patience to make the right choice afterwards. So many times we talk about the old adage in ultimate conservation of greatness. Hey, you just got the block. Don't get too far out over your skis and throw some kind of silly, crazy, overly ambitious turnover. But Davis jumps this route.
Edmonds had no idea he was coming.
And after he jumps the route, he finds Soufflot with no one else around him on the counterattack.
Second goal of the night for Owen Soufflot. So Minnesota back within 2 again. They've trailed by as many as 4. Second wind chill break, courtesy of Davis with the D and the dime. Here's Levine making the tough catch.
I think if he's going downwind, he might throw that to Yuan. Upwind.
I think if he's playing college ultimate, he throws that to Yuan. But
yeah.
This is a different game.
Yep.
Both these coaches have talked to their young players a lot about valuing the disc in a different way. Talked about that with Nate Busberg in Indy last week. Getting their young college kids to value possession in a different way than they do in college Frisbee.
How about the number of blades we've seen as resets?
Dinger's hammer short of the end zone, but Sadok makes the slide and catch. And Edmonds is in. So certainly undeterred by whatever slight breeze is going on. And it's time for a heat timeout, Ian. 3.5 minutes to go in this first half. Boston back up by 3, 11-8.
No doubt Minnesota still within striking distance. And of course the wind chill still with work to do. It doesn't look like there's a need to put an O prime line out there. Looks like typical O personnel being given instruction by Max Longchamp before this point. And I want to see what wrinkle Longchamp or Feldman might pull out if they get a chance for one more D point here before the end of half. We've seen this team innovate with different sets. We've seen them throw snake in the grass out there.
Yeah, it worked against Atlanta in the semis last year.
And, Ben Feldman told us, look, as important as this game is, it's also about collecting data, trying stuff. What works well under pressure, under elite competition? And to be clear, I'm not advocating for a snake in the grass, but let's just see what kind of defensive stuff they might be able to unveil if they get a look at another D point here this half.
That pole sails just a smidge too long, so it's a 40-yard penalty basically. Instead of Minnesota starting at the back of their end zone, they start 40 yards forward. Minnesota feels that when they get a lead, they are a very dangerous team, especially at home, but they're playing from behind tonight. Broken 3 times in the first quarter, once more here in the second. It's a daring throw, and Larson underthrew it, but the adjustment made beautifully by the veteran Greg Cousins.
Got to get the ball off the line here.
DeMorgan looking, throws it into the ground. Miscommunication between DeMorgan and Larson, and now Boston off to the races. Graff keeps it short for Chris Perinella. Tapper squeezes it through to Graff and into the end zone. It's Jackson McGinnis. How many different young guys are going to step up tonight for Boston in this championship rematch?
Once again, Minnesota undone by its inability to cleanly get the ball off the line. DeMorgan not on the same page with Larson and Johnson in that reset space. And it's just a gift. I think everyone in this league knows, especially the closer you get to the red zone where defenses can shrink the field even more, you got to get the ball off the line quickly. And I could just smell that turnover coming a mile away.
Authoritative assist there from Oscar Graff, confidently throwing a strike to McGinnis in the end zone for the glory.
you're scoreboard watching, you just saw on our bottom line, Austin with a 5-4 lead on Atlanta.
Huge game in the South. Remember, Carolina beat Austin in Austin the final week of the season last year in a game that meant nothing for the Flyers. That got Atlanta, their greatest rival, the 1 seed, and helped the Hustle ultimately get to championship weekend. Now Carolina's hoping Atlanta returns the favor. Near the sideline, it floats for a while and ends up being a Minnesota score. Second of the night for Zach Morton.
Nice work here. Krennic and Hansen crossing over. Little O-prime situation. Nice work by Morton milking it. And here, this is where Feldman and company have to unveil something. They gotta unleash a little wrinkle. I'm not saying a 3-goal, 4-goal advantage is insurmountable in the second half, but you want to be closer. You want to be giving this crowd more reason to invest and support such a huge energy driver here in Minnesota.
Winchell now 4 of 5 on their Hucks after that last shot from Noah Hansen to Zach Morton. Sideline pull, but no double team. Just one defender there to meet Dinger. And he quickly resets for DeCrana. With Burnett on the mark, the nice angled swing for Edmonds. DeCrana, pressured by Burnett, milks it a little bit, rounds the corner, and then launches deep. And it's going to float over the defender, but be dropped by Peter Borth.
He did the right thing, trying to go up with 2 hands, but he flipped the pancake.
Flipping flapjacks from Peter Borth. Final minute here in this second quarter.
I'm shocked that Feldman hasn't used his last time out yet. Got to get the ball off the line.
Gain yards, but still on the line. It's Ambrose. Ambrose won't have a chance to throw, just as you asked, Ian, with 39 seconds remaining. Timeout, Winchell. An important 39 seconds coming up here. 2-goal game feels wildly different from a 3 or 4 goal game at the half.
Couldn't agree more.
Borth couldn't believe it, just like we couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I had thought that shot was a little ambitious, but turns out it was very catchable and execution just not there on the finish.
Next Friday night, final Friday night Frisbee of the regular season. Spiders shred in Salt Lake City. Next Saturday night, fun interdivisional game, DC and Atlanta. And then on Sunday, the final game of the 132-game regular season across the UFA. Madison at Minnesota, right back here at Seafoam Stadium. Will the Winchell trying to to finish their season 12-0, or will they be looking to bounce back from their first loss of the season? Floater to the front corner. Brandt is there to bring it in. 2-goal game with 17 seconds left in the half.
Great break there from Minnesota. And now this is a critical defensive stand, right? We know what the challenge is with these end of quarter situations. Yes, you need to get bodies on bodies, and I think Ryan Cable's going to be a problem among other people, but you also have to have runners challenging at the point of release. You can't just be letting someone step into something unmarked from midfield. So I'd envision something like a first wave with a canopy waiting near the end zone. Let's see how Minnesota handles this defensively.
It's a tricky amount of time to defend. Boston is going into the wind.
Oh, he touched that. He got a fingertip on that.
Well, whether he did or not, it's still their disc in the back of the end zone. But his fingertips started the clock.
Yeah, that's the important thing.
So now just 10 seconds left for Dinger and the Glory. Yuan with 8. 5 seconds for Dinger. Floats it near midfield. Edmonds going to be denied by Burnett. That's the final play of the half. Edmonds still defending Justin over there, but there's no time left. And it's a 2-goal game at the break. Minnesota certainly did not play their best half, Ian. Boston was sharp. We'll see if the Glory can keep up their quality in this heat on the road. Short-handed. Minnesota has to feel pretty good, all things considered, only being down 2.
Yeah, it's almost like a bit of a gift. They've done just enough to do tiny little bits of a pushback, but they need a more concerted effort to fully vaunt themselves, get themselves level in this one if they want to take the lead.
Second block of the half for Burnett, who just continues to make plays for this Minnesota team. And now both squads will head into the air-conditioned locker rooms across the way to get a little bit of AC. These fans don't have that fortune, but they got shade for the most part, at least in these stands. What a glorious day here in the Twin Cities. It's toasty, no doubt, but it is awesome. Ultimate conditions for this incredible matchup that we very well could see in late August in Madison. Championship weekend returning to Breese-Stevens Field for the second straight year. The championship game last year were these two teams. It was a 2-goal win for Boston. That's the margin at the half. 12-10 Glory lead. Let's get the wind chill perspective with Ben Feldman. Here's Nikhil Jain.
I'm here with Coach Ben Feldman, and it's really been a story of 2 parts, a rough first quarter and a much better second. What's the real big difference between the two of them in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we had a subpar first half to be down 2. I think we're pretty happy. Second quarter was a little bit better, converted on some of our chances, but it's tough to get the disc away. The difference is we've got 4 or 5 brutal miscommunication errors thrown to no one. Not blocks, not throwing to blocks. We're throwing early stall count to no one. And so we got to shred some of that up. Got a few new pieces on the O-line, though. This is really valuable experience, and to push back in the second to get it within 2, I think we're happy with it could be a lot worse. I think we're confident going to the second half here and ready to keep this thing going.
Gotcha. Well, moving into the second, the heat and the heat index is something that's on everybody's minds. How do you feel like your players are holding up right now?
Both teams are probably feeling it. I feel good about our depth down to 20, and I think that's going to benefit us here in the second half.
Gotcha. Well, moving into the second half, is there anything that you are looking to experiment with or try things out? As you said earlier in this week, this is one of the best practices your team's going to have all year.
Yeah, I think we've been trying a bunch of different sets so far. We're moving a couple people around on matchups while managing the heat. So yeah, I think we won't be afraid to try some different things, move some guys around on matchups, and offensively, this is incredibly valuable. It's a really good team we're going against, and so we don't give the disc away 4 or 5 times. It'd probably be a better scoreline here. So we got to clean that up.
Gotcha. Well, we'll wish you the best of luck in the second half, and thank you for your time. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks so much, Nikhil. Appreciate Ben Feldman for making the time. Great crowd on hand, and they are relieved that their team is only down 2. Halftime score of the championship game last year, Ian, was 11-all. This year, Boston's got a 12-10 advantage at the break. Every player in the UFA dreams of competing at championship weekend, and you can also experience this magical event on August 27th and 28th at Breese Stevens Field in Madison. Semifinal Thursday features all 4 division champs, and then Friday includes youth clinics, the second ever WLPUL All-Star Game, and of course the 2026 UFA Championship Showdown. Single day tickets along with full weekend and VIP passes are on sale now. We can't wait to see you this August at Championship Weekend in Madison, the capital city of Ultimate.
Tim Elliott will pick it up, looking to score. Quinn Feiner, happy to oblige, cuts deep, and it's a goal for Quinn Feiner.
Wait, we needed the official signal for a second there. The Hank Carey and sideline ref were looking at each other, and there wasn't a signal, but now we got it. Sorry, Chuck.
Hey,
as you were.
Hey, I'm just here to talk.
And the Huck is going up. No defenders behind. 18 going up, and that's Jack Brown with the grab. Head tapping all the way up there. What a huge play. Defensive meltdown for the Shredded. Jack Brown taking advantage, going up to the
Great in Everhart. Everhart over to Cowan. Cowan looking deep for Atkins. Atkins gets horizontal, and he's in. Another goal for Alex Atkins. The best celebrations in the league.
I mean, they're expressive. Even when they're relaxed, there's just limbs moving everywhere. There's eye rolls or chest pounds or grins. It's hard to argue. I don't know who is even in contention. Atkins.
Chasing down Lofink, and currently Lofink getting the better of him.
Nathan Busberg has been frustrated with the choices of their team, but he won't be displeased by that missile. An absolute perfect put. Elliot Hawkins to Cameron Brock, 2-1 Indy. In the first quarter, just 2 in the second. Gutowski comes up empty with a bid. Elliot Hawkins looking long, and he throws another dot to Cameron Brock. What can you do to stop that if you're Madison?
Well, what's wild about that is that
12 seconds now left on the clock. A couple seconds. Hopefully Salt can get a mark on before the big throw to the end zone. Lofink now with it, looking to the house. Hammer going up. And Tony, but it's deflected and then caught there. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Gavin Leahy, trash collector, coming around and making the play. Tony wasn't able to catch the D there on the defensive coverage, but the hammer buzzer beater to end the half. Unbelievable stuff. Certainly, and now Salt Lake fully covered now. Seattle in a side stack. Shooting deep right away to Jack Brown. Chad in pursuit. Making it up and making the play. Huge afterwards there by Chad Jorgensen catching it. 24 seconds remaining. Seattle just possessing it. Up 1. And the throw and a huge trailing edge.
What a save.
Unbelievable. And a huge block. Chad Jorgensen in the fourth quarter again with another layup block and then shooting it. The backhand to the end zone. Munga chasing it down and going up and catching it for the score. Chad with the block and then the hook to tie it up. And it's 21-21 with only 5 seconds remaining. What a huge play by Chad Jorgensen. And then Tony in the end zone.
Talk about the two biggest playmakers in clutch moments for the Shred. Both those guys have had times throughout their career where they've had game-changing clutch blocks and goals like that. That is an absolute, incredibly, that's such a great block.
Oof. Nog going deep. Chad with it now. Stutter step. Nog doesn't go up.
It's a great break by Chad.
And a huge play, 27, making big plays all night, and a big layout block on Jace Dudebile on the throw going to the sideline. What an incredible defensive. O'Brien now with it, pump faking around. Scuba, meatball, but caught in the end zone. A bookend score for Seattle.
Switching fields.
Merriman, that was somewhat contested. Got it through to Lavranes. And now thrown back into play. That was crafty! Oh, man! Grovich with an unbelievable set of awareness. And he's got Theo Shapinski on that highlight reel touchdown goal.
Yeah, they call that the greatest, and you can see why. It's just so exciting. Such an exciting play, and Philly didn't think there was any shot. They thought that disc was way out of bounds. I thought so too. I thought no way Grovich leaves from inbounds, but he does such a good job with his feet, and he puts it.
Communicate in the heat of the moment.
Ooh, that one poached, and it's a Callahan.
Yeah.
What an incredible play by Joel Close.
Wow, just sailed through. That took me a second to fully process exactly where he landed.
I wasn't sure if he was outside the end zone or right there on the line.
I need to see that replay.
Gets the official D chain, and he deserves it. Big play by Joel Close. Let's go down to the sidelines, Mr. Chris Pennant.
This summer, Ultimate takes over the world. From the rising stars of World Junior Ultimate Championships to the seasoned battles of the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships to the biggest stage in Club Ultimate, the World Ultimate Club Championships. Watch it all unfold live, exclusively on UltiWorld.
Moments away from the start of the second half here at Seafoam Stadium in beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota. It's Boston 12, Minnesota 10 at the half. Let's get the Glory perspective. Sam Rosenthal standing by with Nikhil.
I'm here with Coach Sam Rosenthal, and Sam, 12-10 in the first half, about as good as you could be hoping for. How do you feel like that first half went for you?
We just talked about it in the locker room. It wasn't perfect, but more good than bad for sure.
Okay, well, you've got a lot of heat. We've already had a couple of hydration breaks for it. How do you feel like your players have been hanging on so far?
I think the hydration breaks help us. I think, we're sub-20 players right now. The breaks are helping us, so I love them.
All right, well, what, if anything, are you looking to try out or change or keep consistent moving into the third and fourth quarters?
we're having some good luck when we get them on the sideline. They're doing a couple of things to get off that I think we can just do a little better about. That's the main adjustment we talked about, and I think offensively, our D-line, it feels like a D-line at times. We're short a couple of important players, as they are too, but like they're an O-line. They don't want to play D. We just got to keep it alive as we've been doing. I think we got a high conversion rates. I'm pretty happy with our D-Zo, despite at times it's a lot of passes, but that's all right.
All right, well, Coach, thank you for your time. Best of luck into the third, and we'll send it back to you guys in the booth.
All right, Nikhil, Sam, thank you very much. I think Sam probably wishes his team had kept its 4-goal lead, which it had at the end of the first.
No doubt.
But up by 2, Boston will start this third quarter on offense. Sadok, Dinger, Edmonds, Cable, Borth, Yuan, and Dekrana. And Sadok, without really any good downfield options, off the deep pole from the wind chill. And Dinger calls a timeout 22 seconds into the start of the second half.
I mean, I know Sam Rosenthal burned him quickly in the first half, but that's probably not where Nathan Wicks and Sam Rosenthal imagined burning the first one of the second half.
Well, it starts with the pull, obviously, and then the defense sagged off of the person that picked up the Sadok and cut off all of his options. So when Sadok finally got rid of it, it was not a gainer by any means, and Dinger had nowhere to go. So Boston down to 1 timeout with 11:38 to play in the third.
This would be a great moment for a grandstand thumping defense chant. Just amplify the pressure here.
Out of the last Boston timeout, we got a Dinger huck of about 80 yards. How about 100 yards here from Dinger to Dekrana?
Stall count rising again.
It's a stall. You got to be kidding me. After the timeout, Dinger still has no good options, and Minnesota will have the disc on the goal line.
As good a coverage sack as you'll ever see.
Micah Davis initiates. Ian, this only counts for 1, but it feels like 5. Minnesota zaps Boston of a timeout, gets the stall, and then punches in the break to start this second half in style.
That's well said, Evan. Wonderful work by the wind chill defensive unit. Just suffocating with the great pull coverage, with the tight defense out of the timeout, not being afraid to front a few guys. And here's a look at the finishing sequence. I wonder if we can get one more look at the possession before Dinger was stalled. That sequence was just excellent work by this defense.
Intended for Kyle Soufflot, caught by Owen Soufflot. His brothers picking each other up.
Can they do it again?
Dinger gets rid of it, still in their end zone. Sadok still in the end zone, Callahan country. The crowd crescendoing. Here's Edmonds. The World Games last summer, maybe nobody made more pressure-packed throws than Edmonds as Borth launches deep. Cable's the biggest guy on the field. He's got company, but he's got the catch. And they call a foul in addition to the catch. And are they going to call it a goal on the field? Doesn't look like it. Saw one official signal goal, but Cable was shy of the end zone.
I want to see a replay of that huck hanging and the defense from Kraffel. I got a thought there, but let's see how this point winds up.
Important red zone offense here for Boston. DeCrona double teamed. Runs away from the defenders. 3 assists in the first half for Toba, not trying to force it here. Gets it back from Borth. Sadok gives it back to Toba. And a floater to the end zone for Thomas Edmonds. And Boston with a much needed hold. 2:15 into the third.
So, listen, I was never a deep defender. I was more of a handler defender in my playing days. But smarter minds than me, in the rare instances where I found myself on a big guy under a deep hanging ball, said, get your body on him as quickly as possible. And I don't see that from Kraftful here. I just see, hey, let me try and high point this guy who may be an inch taller with a bit more wingspan than me. Maybe the coaches will talk to him about it. Maybe Blake's got a different philosophy. That's entirely possible. But that's the first thing that jumped out to me is you need a body on him. Make him feel something. Don't let him easily get to the point where he's going to jump and elevate.
Ryan Cable was unstoppable in the championship game last year, in which he had 6 goals, 1 assist, and 1 block. He's been far more quiet today, although that was an important catch in double coverage.
And I think a big part of that is Minnesota was really slow to adjust on Cable in the final. They didn't back him at times when they very clearly needed to, and I've seen more of that intentionally happening tonight. Just like here in the second half, I'm seeing more intentional swing off the sideline quickly from the Minnesota O-line.
Newhouse quickly over to Larson on cue. Larson with a good chunk gainer for Cousins. Took a quick look downfield, then around stall 3, found the swing. Brandt swings it again, changing the angle of attack. Newhouse to Johnson to DeMorgan.
No reason this group can't do that all night long. And that's no shade to the Boston defense. It's a talented group trying to contain as best it can, but with the throwers, the athleticism, the threats on this O-line, that's exactly how that group can operate and make sure that you find sure-handed, high-percentage options like the ones they found throughout that point.
It's the 20th assist of the season for Christian Johnson. It's a career high for a guy that made his Windshield debut back in 2018, 8 years ago. Hasn't played every season for this Minnesota team, but he was an important player 2 years ago on the run to the championship. Been a very important member of the O-line. He played great in the game out in Oakland, Ian, last month, where they beat the Spiders by 1.
Sure did, and Burnett awfully close to block number 3 right there.
Edmonds continues to be super steady. When Boston had their road trip to New York and DC back-to-back, they had some of their primary handlers unavailable, and that's not going to work. Edmonds looking for DeCrona. Thomas was virtually mistake-free on that road trip. That is going to be inbounds or out of bounds. They rule Lacey in.
Wow.
And that's a foul on DeCrona. He held him to make sure he didn't drill him over.
We're going to have to get another look at that one, because from up here in the booth, certainly looked.
It was very close. Coolman to Kranick. Coleman's played mostly offense for the Windshield, but he's always badgering the coaching staff to let him get a chance to play D and then help convert breaks. Lacey to Coolman. Kyle Suflo. Our last tie was at 1-1. And it's an injury timeout. And it's Kuhlman that's taken a sub.
I have to say I wasn't zeroed in on him, so I couldn't see any contact or lack thereof. But Gordon Larson has taken his place.
And Larson in for Minnesota. Tapper replaces Sadok for Boston. He'll be on the mark here. Winchell looking for the equalizer, and it will come perhaps after a timeout. Feldman uses his first in the second half with 6:57 remaining in the third. Did not want to get bogged down in the red zone. All right, wild point so far, Ian. Edmonds, little miscommunication.
Nice work by Krennic. You know, he wasn't the assigned defender there. He's just peeling off of Yuan when he sees the opportunity. Here's Lacey. Is he?
I think he was.
Ooh,
I think he got the left hand down in bounds.
Yeah, wow.
DeMorgan was there to help officiate in case the referee wanted to ask him.
Yeah, he's the most unbiased party imaginable in that situation. Yeah, that was a fantastic snag. And Cam's right. How about that crowd tonight? You got to wonder if they're setting another attendance record. This group has been doing that all season long with the support from the community.
How good has Cam Lacey been for this Winchell team? He's just 23 years old. Made his debut 3 years ago. Relatively unknown. And before a throw, it's a foul downfield against Boston, which allows Brandt to center the disc on the goal line because Minnesota was within 10 yards when the foul was called. Brandt around the marks, ties the game. Greg Cousins in the end zone, and it's 13-all here in Minnesota.
Experienced throwers like Brandt know when there's double team on you and traffic in front of you, go around the corner and you'll find something open for sure. So we get one more look at the turnover on this point. Krennic with the heads-up defense. Lacey with the possession-saving grab as we slow it down. Oh, man, I don't know if that left hand was in. But nonetheless, Brandt displaying poise on the goal line and rewarding Feldman and Longchamp for using a timeout there. And there we go. We're all tied up.
It was 1-1, 54 seconds in. And then we had that 2 timeout point where Minnesota had the disc and a chance to take the lead. It's the only time all game that they had the disc with a chance to take the lead. They could not capitalize. Boston held after the second timeout of the point and then went on a break run, getting 3 breaks in the next 5 points or so. The 4-goal lead has evaporated in this steamy heat.
Yeah, and this is pressure and fatigue mounting.
It's a nice throw from Toba to Thomas.
Against this Glory O-line that we said off the top needed to be crisp, needed to be efficient. Starting to see little inefficiency, a little bit of breakdown here in the early stages of the second half.
Edmonds. DeCrana with assist number 5. As Orion Cable gets free at the front of the end zone. Boston back up by 1.
Well, this is pretty much what the doctor ordered after conceding some breaks. Just a calm, confident possession that doesn't really make the hair on your neck of your arm stand up at all. A lot of high percentage looks to open hands and a big body with position there in the red zone to finish it off.
Coming into tonight, Toba was number 1 in the league in assists. He was number 7 in goals, number 3 in total yards, but he was just 21 yards behind Alex Atkins. So he has overtaken New York star for the league lead in yards with his performance tonight. As of this moment, Ian, he's also the only player in the league with at least 2,500 throwing yards and at least 2,500 receiving yards, which speaks to his versatility and balance as a thrower and a striker.
Hope you got him on your fantasy team, folks.
Minnesota looking for another equalizer. Klain, little cheeky high release. And into the end zone, DeMorgan for Newhouse.
Oh, DeMorgan letting Malachi Raymond know, hey, man, you can get off the field now. I don't need you out here anymore. We just scored on you. Wow. The spicy stuff just continuing here from DeMorgan. How about that throw from Klain?
Setting up the Carlton connection here.
I don't know if we got a replay of that on the 50 cam. See if we can stay with this and just keep your eyes on DeMorgan here. He's the assist thrower. And then look at, he's gonna turn to
I'm not gonna see it.
Raymond. It might be out of frame. Oh.
You caught it.
Yeah. I promise. It happened.
Couple goals for Newhouse. Edmonds centers to Dinger. Cable coming under.
Look at how much respect he's got going that direction, being backed that much.
They want to make him into a thrower.
Yep.
Nice find in the middle of the field. Borth continues, and DeCrana makes the catch with Burnett bidding nearby and then throws his 6th assist of the night. Ryan Dinger in the end zone for Boston, and it's 15-14 Glory with 4:34 to go in the third.
I think Minnesota's still, for the most part, happy with this point defensively. Burnett got a great sniff at a block. And if nothing else, you forced a high-pressure, inside-out huck from DeCrana to execute and finish it off.
This Boston Glory franchise, as I mentioned, joined the league in 2021. Today's their 77th game all-time. They're 47-29. No team in the entire UFA, Ian, has won more games this decade than the Minnesota Wind Chill. They are 65-17 since the start of 2021. Last night in Chicago, the New York Empire won their 65th game this decade as well. So the Wind Chill with a win tonight could retake the lead in that department. They have been steady. They've been consistent. They're the only team in the league, Minnesota, to be at championship weekend each of the past 3 years. And they're heavily favored to get back there for a 4th straight season out of the Central. They beat the best team in the West last month on the road. Tonight they're trying to come from 4 goals down to knock off the reigning champs on their home field. A collision in the end zone and a block for Boston. It's Cole Davis Brand with a D, and we play on. Parinella quickly to Tapper.
Is Sam Rosenthal going to burn his last time out on this possession or let this group run it?
He is not as close to the referee as you would expect him to be if he was thinking about a timeout. Boston used their first timeout in this half, 22 seconds in, and still turn it over, and they turn it over here. So a break chance goes awry. Remember last year in the championship game, Boston didn't have a single break chance that went awry. Started the game 8 for 8 on breaks. Deep shot, looking for Cousins. Greg Cousins rips it down for the Wind Chill. Wow.
Credit to the Wind Chill O-line locking in after the turnover. I think things were starting to look a little bleak in that point. You'd seen this D-line offense march the disc into the opposing red zone as we get one more look at the first block from Cole Davis-Brand. Ambitious red zone shot from Larson. And then that inside swallowed up by Larson, who gets the ball back, atoning for his mistake.
What a shot from Christian Johnson. Cousins does the rest. He scored a lot of goals in this league. Talked about it when we were here last. He had 62 goals in the 2017 season for the Wind Chill, and he did not play in the UFA from 2019 till 2024. He has been a valuable offensive veteran cutter on this team with so much youth. And Minnesota without veteran captain Brian Vanoka tonight, dealing with a hamstring injury. Talked to Bevon pregame. He certainly said he expects to be okay for the playoff game 4 weeks from now. They miss him tonight. Minnesota has never led. Boston has been in front by as many as 4. Anybody's game right now. Final 2.5 minutes in this third quarter. Minnesota will receive to start the fourth. Albert Yuan, plenty of energy. The former Flyer dishes back to Toba. DeCrana loves that angled forehand to Sadok. There was a time, Ian, when Boston's offense really revolved around Sadok as DeCrana lays out to keep it alive and then launches another blade to the end zone for his 7th assist of the night. What a gutsy shot from Toba DeCrana, the reigning MVP.
The Blades are in business all night long. He's not hesitating on these choices. So we see him sacrifice the body there, and you could see in his progression of looks, it's all right, one quick look to one side, and then as I come back and focus squarely downfield, yep, that's in range.
Well, he's had a couple games this year where those throws were not on. I think about the game at New York. He almost threw Boston out of that game with red zone mistakes, trying to make something happen rather than trying to win the point with his legs. That was another example of really slinging it, but it worked out.
Yeah, feels like he's dialed in his execution and learned about where is in range and where can I pull the trigger.
He's got the license to launch tonight, that's for sure. 7 assists for DeCrana. Boston by 1 again. Klain working with Larson. Pretty big gap between the handlers and the cutters. Brandt comes closer and makes a play on the disc. Gains a chunk to Morton, who continues for Kuhlman, who launches for Klain, and Josh Klain is in the end zone. 16 apiece. Back and forth we go.
Just like everyone expected. The wily veteran handler, Josh Klain, taken off. And with steps in the deep space.
That looked like a practice drill.
Yep.
Grant to Morton to Kuhlman.
Yep.
To Klain. They'll never expect it.
Kid's still got wheels.
Tonight, the 125th game of Josh Klain's UFA career. He's gone over 100 career goals this season, but he's closing in on 400 career assists He's currently 7th all-time in UFA history in assists.
That was quite the close-up there.
Final 45 here in this third quarter. Boston led by 4 after 1, led by 2 at the half. Minnesota has clawed back to tie it. Winchell will receive to start the fourth. Cable with 30 seconds. Minnesota fans trying to will their team to a stop. Edmonds with 19. DeCrona, about 30 yards out, launches up the line, and he hits Edmonds in stride. Toba DeCrona with 5 assists here in this third quarter alone. He's got 8 on the night, and that last one to number 8 puts Boston back in front.
Toba can't miss. Our guy is dialed tonight, folks, and that is bad news for Winchell fans, especially when Boston's going downwind. I mean, phenomenal effort there from Ambrose, but even he can't fly through the air and make up the ground. Chasing the World Games talent, Edmonds, and now here's an interesting end of quarter situation for Minnesota to navigate. What can they do to try and get things level with 6 seconds?
Interesting in here, the officials are conferring in midfield and both head coaches are out there with them. Not clear what this is about.
And the stadium scoreboard has not been updated.
I think that's an oversight.
The stadium scoreboard still says 16-16. So we got to make sure we got the clock and the score right on the stadium board.
Minnesota's D-line is coming back onto the field. Was there might have been a call perhaps before the throw. Now they put 14 seconds on the clock.
So that's why we're seeing 16-16.
Saw a slight toe drag there. I mean, a pretty normal toe drag. Unclear what the officials have adjudicated. Where's the disc going to be? Apparently that last Edmonds to DeCrona, or DeCrona to Edmonds goal will not count. Toba back to 7 assists. A foul maybe away from the play. Hopefully Nikhil can get in the mix and give us an update here on what he's hearing from the sidelines. So DeCrona's got the disc again. 14 seconds remaining. The officials still sorting things out. Latest we're hearing, it was a pick called against Boston before the play. So they got 14 seconds on the clock. We're tied at 16 all. DeCrona initiates to Borth. Gets it right back with 10. Toba's hammer to an open man is another strike. Double score for Boston, and it's Cam Levine that gets the goal with 6 seconds left. The 8th assist for the second time for Toba DeCrona.
Man, I don't know how else to say it. DeCrona is dialed.
Putting the team on his back. And such a huge score. Unless Minnesota scores at the buzzer here, they're going to need to break to win this game in the fourth.
And I mean, he's had Burnett on him. There have been some other help switches that have flipped onto him, and I mean, Toba's just done it all. He's gotten the disc against Burnett. He's skied Hansen in the deep space. Like, we say this a lot about star players in this league. Oh, you just got to pick your poison. Do you want him to be a thrower and beat you, or beat you as a receiver? And he's truly doing it all tonight.
Going downwind, Josh Klain has this distance. Minnesota looking to tie it at the buzzer, and they do! The wind chill get the equalizer with no time left on the clock. What a catch from Zach Morton. He does it again.
This kid deserves his flowers, and the Boston defense deserves a demerit for letting Josh Klain get that clean a backhand look in this situation. You have to know that that's who and what Minnesota wants to be throwing in this end of quarter situation, and he has basically zero resistance in doing it.
He had a great buzzer beater last week, his first time playing on the O-line, and Zach Morton finds a home. Klain lets the big man go to work, and he beats Orion Cable to the spot. Morton ties it at 17 all at the buzzer to end the third, and this showdown between the last two champions is tied, headed to the fourth here in the Twin Cities.
The Ultimate Frisbee Association is proud to partner with Victory. Elevate your game with Victory insoles and recovery footwear at VKTRY.com. Delta THC Seltzers. No calories, no sugar, no alcohol. Catch life's moments at DrinkDelta.com. Two Town Cider House, bringing the best craft cider for everyday celebrations. Find yours at TwoTownCiderHouse.com. And Disc-It. Round Net meets Ultimate. Disc-It is the must-have portable game for every UFA fan. Get yours at DiscItGame.com.
Boston and Minnesota tied at 17 all, headed into the fourth. Wind Chill have never led tonight, but they'll be on offense here to start the fourth. Let's see what happened. Get a little more information about that strange situation at the end of the third down on the field in Akil.
Yeah, it was a strange situation. There was a pick called before the throw from Toba, which is why it got brought back. But Toba obviously accounted for that. Double scores accounted for. What I want to additionally talk about is that Boston is irate about that end of quarter play. They were saying that the clock did not start until the throw, despite contact being made during the pull. Maybe fans at home can take a rewind on that one, but there's been a couple of interesting officiating calls this game. Back to you guys.
All right, Nikhil, thanks for the reporting. That's an interesting note. We'll definitely take a look back at that, because that was a huge score for Minnesota. Puts them in position to potentially take their first lead. All of Boston's breaks came in the first half, Ian. Their defense did not put up a ton of meaningful resistance in the third. Grant, tough catch in the middle. And
I mean, we knew that Minnesota was going to find a way to punch back in this one. And Boston, without a full 20, let alone its top 20, is really fighting the elements and the opponent here, as Minnesota is so apt at finding a way to inch back into these contests.
Chris Parinello was shaken up. They stopped the play, but he good to remain in the game, so he did. Brandt has been in so many of these big games with a disc in his hand in big moments. The championship weekend MVP 2 years ago in Salt Lake City. And here's Larson looking up the line for the first time tonight, the wind chill lead. Greg Cousins open in the end zone again for Minnesota.
Man, that end of quarter execution bigger than ever now. As we see DeMorgan and Larson just using that high side and breaking the mark where there's comparatively little downfield resistance. Those defenders are expecting the throw to come to the other side of the receiver's body as the force dictates. And instead, the Minnesota throwers shredding those marks, finishing the score.
3 goals for Cousins, 3 assists for Larson. Boston receives the pull, trailing for the first time tonight. DeCrana, 5 assists in that third quarter. He's got 8 for the game. Tough throw, squeezed into Cable, who launches long, looking for Borth. Suflo there defensively. Borth hit from behind a little bit, but no foul called. It's ruled incomplete. Borth shaken up. Ian, what do you think? I thought he kind of got clipped in the back when he was up in the air.
I thought it was incidental contact as I watched it live. I don't know how much we're going to be able to tell from this angle. That angle doesn't show me, hey, Suflo really contacted him, as we see the injury substitution take place. Here's the replay from our 50 cam. Goes up.
Left arm in the back.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a reasonable no call.
Yeah.
But I saw left arm in the back of an airborne player.
Okay.
And even if he dropped it anyway, that's still contact on an airborne player.
Sure.
Minnesota, chance to double their lead.
What a find by Micah Davis. Just a dot to get that group started.
I mean, he joined this team midseason after finishing his junior year at Pittsburgh, Davis did. And Ben Feldman almost put him in the lineup for his debut at Oakland. Oh, there's a good poach block from Oscar Graf. Huge play.
I was just a...
Then DeCrana throws it away, looking for Oscar in the end zone.
Was just about to say that Feldman needs to think about using his last time out.
Didn't act quickly enough. Now Davis uncorks a massive backhand. Toba DeCrana there defensively, but it's Suflo for Minnesota who can't come up with it. And it's a very late whistle.
Very late. I can understand, and Sam Rosenthal is like, are you kidding me? I want to get one more look at that if we can.
There's certainly contact. Toba might have got the disc up top first, hard to tell. Oof. Contact from behind. Tough call goes against the Glory. So it's Suflo who scoobers it into the turf.
Oh, man.
Are you kidding me? You know Boston's sideline is yelling those 3 words right now that Rasheed Wallace made famous.
Yes, and you know, if Minnesota gets the ball again this point,
Cameron Lacey.
Is Ben Feldman going to use his timeout?
On the goal line with the disc in Davis's hands, we do get a whistle. And we have contact. There was an interference, I thought, signaled.
There have been abnormal number of official conferences tonight.
Yeah, it's been confusing. And they're going to give Boston the disc back, saying he was fouled by Lacey.
That is so late. That is absurdly late. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with the call, but that had to be faster and clearer.
DeCrona making the adjustment and lays out heroically to maintain possession. Oh, what a catch from Toba. Potentially a game-saving grab right there as Yuan snares it at midfield. Wild back and forth here in St. Paul. The last two champions in this league. Dinger open. Plenty of time to survey. Now he needs an option. And he finds Thomas Edmonds. Under 8 minutes to play. Glory down by 1 for the first time. DeCrona bid into by Hansen. It's a flagrant foul. 20 yards against Hansen, and DeCrona is down. Those two guys are friendly rivals. They have a lot of respect for one another. Noah, a fierce, competitive defender. And I imagine he wants that bid back.
Yeah, oof, that one's tough to rewatch. Very tough to rewatch.
DeCrona is on his feet. He's still got the disc in his hands, and it looks like he wants to stay in the game.
And he can do that because the injury stoppage was caused by contact from the opponent.
Good to see the MVP back on his feet. No Babbitt, no Rowan McDonald, no Simon Carapella, no Tanner Johnson go. Toba's older brother Launder is injured.
No Rowan Dunkerley.
Release valve, Simon Carapella is injured. And yet Boston is hanging in there on the road in this sweltering heat. Tyler Chan does come onto the field for Boston here. And it's DeClerc on the mark. DeCrona with his 9th assist. Half of Boston's scores have been thrown by Toba DeCrona. It's 18 all.
I mean, Boston, what a roller coaster of emotions on that point. They got to feel a little hard done by the refs as we see this call, I should say this no call, where Borth was injured. And then turnover in the red zone there.
Rare misfire from Toba.
And
there's the foul against DeCrona, which I think was a reasonable call. It was just late.
Well, if anything was late, it was the foul call on Cam Lacey as we're back in live action here.
And Minnesota's got the disc. And Larson launches long. Nobody was really cutting. A late burst, but Kuhlman can't get there. And Minnesota gives it away.
And now there's confusion about what this whistle was. What's going on with the officials? We need some. They're calling a foul?
They called a foul in the stack? I'm not sure.
But that wouldn't give them the disc at that point
not
on the
at
field.
All. What? I mean, can it be pass interference 40 yards away from where the disc lands? This is a really interesting one, Ian.
Another official conference.
Because truly, Kuhlman wasn't cutting when the throw went up. And maybe there was some contact in the stack as he bolted deep, realizing that the throw went up. So they're bringing it back maybe to where the foul happened at midfield. This is still a late whistle, but I guess makes a tad more sense. Minnesota able to maintain possession. Nice grab there by Newhouse. Big bid by the sideline, and it's Peter Borth who was shaken up earlier. Back making plays, denying Brandt. Wow. 18 all, the last two champs, the teams that battled for the trophy last August, laying it all out on the line here in the fourth quarter. Cole Davis-Brand lets it fly. End zone, Tapper had it and lost it. And it's incomplete. I'd say the plot thickens, but it's already about as thick as you could imagine.
Here's another deep shot.
And Minnesota just hands Boston a gift. Tyler Chan to Borth. Past the midway point in this quarter, and the Glory take their final timeout. This marathon point at 18 all that began with 7:41 to go. 2 minutes, 9 seconds already off the clock. And Boston and Minnesota, for that matter, trying to take a deep breath.
This is a crazy sequence of events. It feels like discipline has started to go out the window as this point has developed. We've seen some shots and decisions that we weren't seeing throwers kind of pull the trigger on earlier in this game, and now it's time to see who can dial in and be sure-handed and efficient as we take a look back at some of the twists and turns of this point.
So here's the foul they called on that gave Kuhlman the disc back after Larson's shot was incomplete. Still not sure. There's the block from Borth. Ridiculous play. And Tapper, he did not really argue for a strip there. He certainly had his hands on the disc but could not maintain possession. All right, here we go. Out of the timeout, Dinger hits Borth. Toba Krana is deep downfield, marked by Burnett. Will Toba throw his 10th assist of the game on this point to give the Glory the lead again? Under 5 minutes we go. Edmonds takes a nice, careful, patient swing for Dinger. Edmonds floating, runs it down. Boston in no hurry, trusting Dinger and Edmonds in the backfield, but now a big space downfield. Burnett's not going to get it. DeCrona runs it down. And his cross-field hammer will find his man. And it's Cam Levine throwing for Orion Cable, and Boston leads again. The degree of difficulty on some of these throws, Ian, that Toba's taken, it just leaves you in awe.
This guy is made for this stage. And yes, we've seen one or two tiny hiccups, but for the most part, he's been fearless, he's been precise, and he's been exactly what this offense has needed.
Several throws on that point where it felt like Minnesota was an inch or two away from making a play on the disc. And yet, it's Boston by 1 again. That's their first break since the second quarter with 7:44 to play. They also had a break with 2:16 to go. So Boston now with 6 breaks tonight. And a chance for another right here, but a foul called on Tapper.
Oh, I thought he...
And a technical in addition to the foul. So this will be 30 yards going Minnesota's way. Tapper thought he got the clean block. Very close, certainly rolled up on Newhouse's legs a little bit at the end. So instead of Boston having the disc in the red zone, it's Minnesota out to midfield. Clock restarts under 4 minutes to play. What a game that these home fans are getting. Brandt in the middle to Larson. Late in the game against the Spiders, it was Brandt and Larson going back and forth, but a pure doink. He took his eyes off it. Gordon drops it. Boston, can they double their lead? Glory are out of timeouts. Up the line, Cole Davis Brand, shy of the goal line. Looking for Tapper, he's covered. Looking for Parinella, he's open. And Boston leads by 2 again.
I mean, you said it. Larson took his eyes off the disc and was orienting himself toward midfield. Hey, this is where I want the next swing to go. And I know that's a throw he's made a million times. I think that foul was less. I think the block was clean. It was rolling up into the ankles that was the problem. As we saw the turn there quickly, and you got to wonder, is this a dagger at this stage of the game?
Ian, I have been so impressed with Boston's secondary players tonight.
Yeah.
Cole Davis Brand, Chris Parinella, Seth Fisher-Olvera made a play. I mean, Albert Yuan is not the first guy you think about when you start talking about Boston's offense, but their whole team, whoever's been available and healthy, has shown up and been clutch against this Minnesota pressure.
And this isn't the first time that this group has done this season. We saw a not 100% top-tier squad go to New York and get a victory in overtime. This is what the Boston program has built itself into. I know Minnesota has a ton of depth in its own right, but Boston can go deep in its bench and deep in its bag and go blow for blow with the best in the league.
Feels like a must-score 0 point here for the wind chill. Noah Hansen out there with Josh Klain, Nate DeMorgan. And DeMorgan goes down, and the foul goes against Davis Brand. Lucas Ambrose, Paul Krennick, downfield, Micah Davis, Dylan DeClerc as well. On the sideline where Minnesota's had trouble at times. Klain contemplating, running out of time, squeezes it through with Brand. Cole Davis Brand right there on DeMorgan. Time ticking down. Under 2.5 to play as DeMorgan catches it. On the sideline again. Doesn't force it, resets. Klain wraps it around to Krennick. Winchell trailing by 2. And that throw near the sideline. Was he in? He was. Noah Hansen keeps it alive, and Minnesota's back within 1. Oh boy.
Couple of tight spaces and nervy moments. But this O-Prime group getting the job done. How about the wherewithal from Hansen?
Good call.
To do the baseball slide and make sure that those toes were tucked and sliding inbounds rather than leaving his feet and trying to dive in a position that might have compromised him and sent him out of bounds.
Here comes the sideline roller pull.
We saw this generate turnovers in the championship game last year. Hasn't been quite as effective tonight.
Winchell are not going to double. Just one Suflo brother setting the mark on Dinger. Up the line for DeCrana, who makes the running grab against Burnett. Looking for the reset, Edmonds. Fouled by Kuhlman. Clock continues to tick. These are seconds that are disappearing right now for Minnesota. Edmonds initiates just shy of midfield. Boston doesn't need to score, although if they do score, basically slams the door shut, more likely than not. Near the sideline, tough catch, Edmonds. Keeps possession alive again and looks up line. Ben Sadok is open, and Edmonds may have just sealed the deal for a road win here in the Minnesota hometown. What a score from Edmonds to Sadok.
I mean, we got to go back a few frames if we can before this broadcast ends and look at that stab from Edmonds, who kind of reached out across his body and caught the underside of the disc. And we've seen this huck down that high side be deadly for both teams. The wind largely at the offense's back. It was how Minnesota, how Boston got its attack started in the first quarter with a deep shot down that sideline, and Edmonds, much like DeCrana tonight, not gonna miss.
Winchell need 2 goals in 64 seconds, and because we were outside of a minute, the clock started on the release of the pull, bleeding another 7-8 seconds off the clock before the possession could really begin. Morton coming under. He's not the guy to take the deep shot. That around throw fortuitously finds a pair of Winchell hands. Here's Brandt. He'll take the crossfield shot looking for Morton. Perinella is there defensively. Greatest from Morton, but it's nobody home and smacked down by Boston. The clock continues to tick. The disc is inbounds, and Boston is 1 or 2 completions away from closing this thing out. Boston turns it over with less than 10 seconds to go, just to create some more frustration with their head coach. That catch is inbounds with about 2 seconds left, I think.
There was definitely time.
The clock never stopped. Winchell have gotten the goal to make it 21-20. Officials will need to confer, and they now have 3 seconds on the clock. And Boston will need 1 completion. Or, quite frankly, a huck as far as they can. As long as they don't get hand blocked here, it'll likely do it. Tapper there to smack down the greatest attempt from Morton.
And I supported Brandt's earlier decision that forced Morton to make that greatest attempt. The 35 seconds, you got to score. You got to force the issue and take a shot to the end zone. And he does the same thing right after they luckily get the disc back, as the fans start to file out here at Seafoam. Some of them a little confused.
So sideline pull. DeCrana's got it. And he throws it upfield to Cam Levine, and that will do it. Minnesota wanted a travel call. There is none forthcoming, and the Boston Glory are still the champs. And it wouldn't be right to finish this game without a little more confusion. Everybody kind of looking at each other, and now we finally see Boston storm the field in celebration. Minnesota's undefeated season is over, and there are no more perfect teams in the 2026 association. Boston goes down last night at Carolina, and the Wind Chill fall by 1 on their home field tonight to Boston. What a game.
I'm not going to lie. This result, while not terribly surprising, I'm kind of surprised in the way that we got here, because the story all year long had been there aren't questions about Minnesota's offense anymore. This group is dynamic. It's versatile. It can execute at a higher level with better efficiency than any prior season. And tonight there was all kinds of miscommunication. Hey, I'm throwing to a cutter that actually isn't going to that space. Sure, you got to give some of that credit to the Boston defense, their schematics, their pressure, their matchup and personnel. But it's not like Minnesota hadn't faced a tough defense before this season. This was an almost uncharacteristic performance from the Wind Chill offense, and credit to Sam Rosenthal and his group from capitalizing on the opportunities that this group had.
As you see the fans file out on the field moments ago, Toba DeCrana was jumping for joy. Gave Thomas Edmonds a big hug. And the Glory come to Minnesota and take down the Chill. Same exact score as the other undefeated teams lost last night at Carolina. The Soul fell 21-20 against the Flyers, and the Wind Chill come up 1 goal short in a 21-20 final against the reigning champs. Both these teams are now 10-1, and it would not be surprising at all to see these two teams meet again in a little over a month in Madison. 9 assists for Toba DeCrana, and the game-sealing completion to run the final seconds off the clock and spoil the party for the Wind Chill fans here in St. Paul. 21-20, Boston wins. We're back to wrap it up right after this. A really entertaining Frisbee game tonight in front of this great crowd, but the Boston Glory, last year's champion, gets the better of Minnesota again and snaps the Wind Chill's 10-game winning streak. Our Delta difference maker tonight, without a doubt, was the Belgian star who recently celebrated his 23rd birthday. Toba DeCrana, 1 goal, 9 assists, and a conversation with Nikhil right now.
Hi guys, I'm here with our last year's MVP, Toba Dekrana. At least 8 assists tonight, an absolutely incredible feat up against the last undefeated team in the UFA. How big of a win was this for you and the rest of the Glory squad?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I think this was one of the most important games for a regular season. Obviously, now we got the faith in our own hands to get the 1 seed. So, yeah, incredibly proud of the team, and this was definitely a big game. I mean, Minnesota has like a bunch of fans. It's a hot day. We traveled, so it's always a little bit harder. But I mean, we came through with the dub, and I think it's thanks to every single one of our team members and staff members.
Well, this is another great game for you personally, but it's more than just a single-player game. Is there any of your teammates that you'd like to shout out tonight or pay special thanks to, especially on this relative skeleton crew of Boston Glory squad?
I wouldn't say it's a skeleton crew. We still probably got like 10 of the best 50 athletes in the world in Frisbee right now, so I wouldn't say it's a skeleton squad. Obviously, like, the team facilitates me to be able to play the way I do, and playing with Thomas is awesome. He just got married, so congrats to Thomas and Lauren. So I think Thomas, big shout out, and then Oscar Graff, of course. He's like the rock in our D-line. He plays unbelievable game in, game out. So yeah, those two definitely.
Of course. Well, moving forward, playoffs are in the near future. How important do you think it is for you and the rest of the squad to go back-to-back and get a second championship?
I mean, we try to go game by game, point by point, and I think we try not to think too much about the outcome, because that's how you get trapped. We're more like focused on the next game, the next point, the next pass. Like, if you look forward too much, it's not going to be good. So we're focused on the next game. We got Montreal next week. We got to lock in for that one, get our bodies healthy, and that's all I'm thinking about right now.
Great. Well, here's hoping that there is a lot more healthy Boston players in the weeks to come. Toba Dekrana, our Delta difference maker of the day. Back to you, Ian and Evan.
All right, Nikhil, thanks so much. Toba Dekrana has said, Ian, that, you know, you win one championship, it can be luck. He's not saying was luck last year, but he is eager to prove that it wasn't luck. And his performance this season, coming back from being the MVP and the championship weekend MVP, he is a better player this year than he was last year. And did I mention that he still just turned 23 a couple weeks ago?
It's kind of crazy to think that there are new levels that this kid could somehow hit. And you think about what it's meant to have him a part of the fold in Boston, a group that always had the talent but could never be fully committed and cohesive until last season. His presence, his commitment, his impact has been a real galvanizing force for that group, and his performance on the field has been second to none so far tonight and so far this season.
Right now, huge game going on between Austin and Atlanta. The Soul trying to bounce back from their only loss last night against the Flyers. Austin leads 20-18. Carolina rooting for Atlanta more than they ever have before to try to bop the Flyers up for the 1 seed. But look, all 4 division leaders as of this moment have 1 loss on the season. It's shaping up to be a thrilling home stretch. We'll see another one of those 1-loss teams next week. The Oakland Spiders are on a mission, looking to remain perfect against their West Division rivals. The Salt Lake Shred are eager to prove that they belong in the contender conversation. The final weekend of the regular season launches with the Spiders and Shred next week on Friday Night Frisbee. Look forward to heading back to Zions Bank Stadium in beautiful Salt Lake City next Friday. Friday Night Frisbee returns to Friday next week. Ian, the Spiders are 2-0 against the Shred, but the last quarter that those two teams played in Salt Lake City got a little iffy for Oakland. The Shred were so close to a crazy comeback, they nearly forced OT late.
It's been a season of firsts for the Spiders. They got their first win in Colorado. They got their first win in Salt Lake. But there's something about that Salt Lake home field, that Salt Lake home crowd, that is just kind of never say die, never give up, always challenge until the final whistle energy. I know Bryce Merrill and company are going to be seeing that as the most valuable playoffs tune-up that they could get.
And the Shred are trending upwards, right? They lost to Oakland by 10, and then they lost to Oakland by 1. We'll see what they do next week. Before we wrap it up, just close the book on tonight for me. Toba and Thomas. I mean, I thought it was appropriate that Toba really shouted out Thomas and Oscar Graf as well, but this was not a skeleton Boston crew, but this was far from Boston's best tonight. And the fact that they could still come on the road. And to be clear, Minnesota was without Brian Vinoka, without Thomas Schopp. Minnesota has reinforcements coming too. But for Boston to get this win in this heat in front of this crowd, it really speaks volumes about their leadership and culture after winning a title last year.
Couldn't say it any better myself. This group just has depth that I don't know that we fully appreciated. And Minnesota clearly needs to be a little more battle-tested, especially with its offense going down the stretch.
Boston closes its regular season next Saturday at home against Montreal. If they win that, they'll be the top seed in the East and host the East title game for the second year in a row. Minnesota has Madison coming to town a week from tomorrow on the 19th to wrap up their regular season. They will not be going for perfection, but they know they'll be the top seed and the host of the Central title game on August 8th. We had high hopes for this one, just like when Minnesota went to Oakland. I mean, Minnesota brings this sizzle. They're a high variance team. They always have been. They've become a little less variant this year with a more steady O-line. Wild game, though. I mean, Peter Boris made a lot of great plays, had that stone cold drop as well. But just a memorable night. Couple blocks for Burnett. But in the end, it wasn't enough as the Glory get the win 21-20. What's your lasting takeaway from tonight, Ian?
Boston is for real. Never underestimate them again, even if they're traveling with a less than A-plus squad. And as much as Minnesota's offense has improved this season, we see that this group still has work to do and room to grow under pressure.
Final score here at Seafoam Stadium tonight. Boston behind 9 assists from Toba Dekrana wins it 21-20. And if we're lucky, we'll see these two teams battling again at championship weekend in Madison next month. For Ian Toner and Nikhil Jain and our entire crew, I'm Evan Lepler saying good night from St. Paul, where the champs are still the champs.